Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off a 50-cent pick 4 at Gulfstream on Florida Derby Saturday with race number 7, the Grade 3 Ghostzapper. Some nice older horses going a mile and a 16th with the short stretch. Let's take a look at this field. The purse is $150,000 for the Ghostzapper, and it features 3 horses that were pretty close together in the Gulfstream Park mile 4 weeks ago. Mike Steele's Sunshine just got his nose on the wire over a game Tumbarumba, and Illman is right there as well.
Yeah, all 3 of them back in this race, all 3 of them major contenders right back here in the Ghostzapper. Dan, question for you, the Gulfstream Park mile, obviously 1-turn mile at Gulfstream Park, now a 2-turn mile and a 16th. Does it make any difference?
I think it might for some of these horses. Still, Sunshine thus far in his career has looked best as sort of a late-running sprinter, 1-turn mile horse. I wonder if Il Miracolo is actually better at this 2-turn distance. Something tells me Tumbarumba might be good either way. Maybe the pace projector will give us some clues. And Il Miracolo is a horse that's just really improved since his 3-year-old season, where he was put in some no-hope spots. This will be his 3rd start of the year, Mike. I like that he showed some improved speed in the Gulfstream mile, and he was battling it out with Tumbarumba. You could argue that the horse that got the best setup won it.
Yeah, that's how I looked at that race for sure. Although I guess, differing minds will agree there. I certainly felt like the pace. The interesting thing about that race, then, there were several scratches in that race too, but it was a race that on paper, when you and I did the preview, it kind of felt like there was no speed in there. And, what was going to happen as far as trip goes, the pace could be slow. And then I guess everybody had that idea, because to me, the pace was fast and it really helped the winner.
Really seemed to quicken up on the backstretch when Il Miracolo and Tumbarumba took up a battle, and it set things up for Steele's Sunshine. Lure Him In as the number 1. You scored out on this horse 2 starts back in the Sunshine Classic, Mike. He was able to win it at 7-1 over a pretty decent horse in Octane, who came back to win, I believe, a graded stakes race at Oaklawn Park. They tried him in an allowance race, this race last time out, and Lure Him In was forced to stay a lot closer to the pace than usual because the pace was so slow, and then they sprinted away from him on the 3rd turn. He's still game to get 2nd.
Yeah, he runs okay in this race. The winner just had position on him all the way around the track and opened up an insurmountable lead here. This horse does well, I think, though, to be 2nd. Also kind of felt like the kind of day at Gulfstream where you didn't really want to be trying to make up a lot of ground through the stretch. He ran fine in that race. His effort 2 back gives him a real chance in here. He's one of the horses who I feel like the distance doesn't really matter for him. He's got a great post on the inside and a trainer change here. There's a lot to like.
The Skipper 2 is the number 2, and he was no match for Lure Him In the Sunshine Classic, but he returns off a 2-month layoff as a new gelding. This is a guy that's runs a few figures that make him interesting. I'm a little unsure about what to make of a mile and a 16th form, because he did look good winning over the summer last year, but it was kind of against weaker competition. I just wonder if from a class standpoint, he's facing a too tough a group for him.
That was my big worry with this horse too. I wasn't so concerned about the distance for him, although it's something you definitely have to take a look at. I feel like this just might be a little bit too tough of a field for this horse, who also, he's probably just going to sort of sit back and try to make a run in here, Dan. The most recent start, the last time we saw him in January, I just didn't think that he ran that well behind Lure Him In.
Big second half of the year last year for the 3. Il Miracolo won the Grade 3 Smarty Jones, the local prep for the Pennsylvania Derby, ran 3rd in the Pennsylvania Derby, 2nd in the Fayette against older horses, 3rd in the Clark behind First Mission, who was so good last week, winning at Oaklawn Park. And last time out in the Gulfstream Mile, I just don't think race dynamics worked for him. This time around, I think he's going to break. We'll see if the horse to the outside gets aggressive. If he does, Il Miracolo has shown he can sit, take outside that horse, and get the jump.
Yeah, I think that's an important point to make about this horse. And listen, trips to me they're going to be very important in this race because it's a really well-matched field, I think. And again, just going back to the Gulfstream Mile last time, Castellano was riding that day, and he got aggressive with this horse from the gate, which felt like the right thing to do. It didn't seem like there was a lot of pace in the race, but as it turns out, pace was pretty fast, and he was just sort of going up and down the final furlong there. He couldn't stay with the 1-2 finish. I didn't think it was a terrible performance. He could easily bounce back here.
The number 4 is XY Point, and this guy's pretty fast out of the gate, Mike, but they tried him 2 turns last time out in an allowance race, and I just didn't see the excuse. He got to the front. The fraction seemed comfortable. He was just not as good as the winner.
Yeah, it was a big test for him last time. That was a pretty strong allowance race he was in, but he had a perfectly good trip in there. That pace wasn't fast. He was cutting it, and when they came for him, he was no match. It's not like the waters are any easier for him here.
Some class and distance questions to be sure, but he's going to show some speed. You'll know him in the early part of this race. Tumbarumba is the number 5. He's never been off the board from 10 fast dirt starts, including the Gulfstream Park mile, where he engaged with Ilmaracolo early, eventually made a short lead, and then Steel Sunshine just got him on the wire. But Steel Sunshine had to work a little bit in the final 100 yards. Tumbarumba really wanted to come back on him.
Yeah, he was really, really game in that race, and he was part of that fast pace. That he hooked up with Ilmaracolo around the turn, did a lot of hard work in that race. He's just in really good form here, Dan. I mean, I feel like there's a little bit of a question of how far he wants to go or what his best distance is. Maybe he's at his best up to a mile, but that's far from clear at this point. This horse is really hard to knock right now.
When Steel Sunshine gets out of the gate and gets into at least a position where he can be within hailing range turning for home, he's very dangerous. We didn't see that out of him 2 starts back in the Fred Hooper, where he broke slow, was far, far behind, and then made it very close, missing by less than a length to Tumbarumba. Here's the Gulfstream Park mile, where he got out of the gate a lot better. The pace was kind to him. You see on the inside, it's Ilmaracolo. The horse striking the lead right now is Tumbarumba, and you're now going to see Steel Sunshine get into it. Steel Sunshine is going to get it by a nose. He got the best setup in this race, Mike. Now he's got to do it around 2 turns.
Yeah, the trip worked out for him here, but it's just another good performance from this horse, which is all you get out of him. He shows up and he runs, every single time. And I'm a little concerned that the 2-turn mile to 16th is probably, it may not be his best distance, so maybe that works against him. Took a huge late punch to go favored last time, and maybe he's favored again here, Dan, which I think could be a bad thing for him, but he's obviously a major contender.
Banyik is the number 7. This horse ran into a good one, and the big favorite Skippy Longstocking last time out in the Grade 3 Challenger at Tampa Bay Downs. It was his first start of the year. He saved ground, hard-ridden on the turn, just not good enough that day. I can see him taking a slight step forward. I think he fits with these horses, and the distance won't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good test for him last time. It's not like, he was a total embarrassment in that race. He never looked like he was going to win, but he sort of held his position around the track and managed to pick up 3rd in that race. I thought he had to improve again against this field, but maybe he'll do it.
And then the horse with the most upside of any in this field is the number 8, Donegal Forever. It was a perfect 2 for 2 in his career, including this victory over a very wet track in a first-level allowance race. His first start off of a lengthy layoff, and he was able to stay within range, and he's pretty game to win. I know he's odds-on here, Mike, but he does have to deal with a wet track and a route distance off a long layoff.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most interesting thing to me about it. It's not the most impressive win in the world, but that's a very wet track for this horse off a layoff. And for Pletcher to leave him in there and let him run over it, maybe that's a good sign. If nothing else, if you weren't blown away by that performance, Dan, go back and watch his debut at Belmont last summer. I mean, that was an unbelievable performance after a terrible stumble at the start of that race. Somehow quickly recovered, overcame it. He was very impressive that day.
Going to have to overcome an outside post position and racing without Lasix for the first time, but this horse might have a ton of upside still. Let's take a look at our top selections. You're going to go with Ilmaracolo in here, Mike. This is a horse with tactical speed. I expect him to break, and I expect him to be 1-2 heading into the backstretch.
Yeah, I think trips are going to be important here. I think he can get a good one this time, and this is just another good spot for this horse. I'm going to give him a chance to redeem himself a little bit, Dan. I'm very interested to see what the 8, Donegal Forever, does in here. I didn't think he was going to be a good enough price to really want to bet him or pick him on top in here, but I'm interested to see what he does.
I'm a little bit concerned about Steel Sunshine around 2 turns, although I will note that back in the Harlan's Holiday 3 starts back, he was pretty wide for the first half of that race and still was running on the end at 4th. He's an honest, consistent sort, and it's all about whether he gets the right trip. You made an excellent point. Trips are going to be the determining factor in this race. 35184, Mike, 6532 for me. First leg of a 50-cent pick 4 at Gulfstream on Florida Derby Saturday. It's the Ghostzapper. Good luck.